Hi guys, we're here with candidates Sawyer David Broderick and Andres Rafael Valle Gonzalez. And thank you so much, guys, for accepting to do this interview with us. We are very happy for you to be here, and we would just like you to have this space to share more of your ideas, like get to know you a little bit better. So I'm gonna ask the first question. Why should people vote for you? What qualifies you?
I think specifically that we like to present ourselves as the best of both worlds candidate. We offer both the new perspective by Abrana Eel and Joshua Bean, and also simultaneously the experience that already remains with the incumbent candidates.
Yeah, I would say that in politics it's always helpful to have new eyes on these problems because maybe we can come up with some new solutions. Specifically, Rafa has experience in student council in his own schools, heading societies such as the Philosophical Society in Spain. I worked at a bakery. I had international workers and I helped them secure visas, housing, and just helped integrate them into life abroad. And I think that translates directly into what we're doing here. And
specifically, we've also the mixed year ticket that we're running, that we both have the incoming student's perspective, and simultaneously I'm already stuck between two worlds, but I am a second year student and I can perceive the problems that could occur with different types of stewardships, and I've already talked with so many specific problems that we could immediately address. I think we have the correct perspective and the correct experience for it.
Amazing, thank you guys. So for the second question, what is something the current PPE society needs to improve on, and how would you fix it?
Well, I think that one big thing is that I think that they're doing an okay job at trying to handle, but I still feel there's a massive gap between grades. The first year and second year relationships are kind of
non-existent sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Especially in third year is even worse. So I think
who are the third years?
I don't know. I don't know one. But yeah, we should do a better job to integrate these student relationships. We can build upon them.
Well, exactly. It's specifically community building. We really want to make sure that everybody feels a member of PPE. In fact, we have a policy named the No Child Left Behind policy, essential to our campaign, but is specifically including the people that do not feel included. And for some reason, it seems to be most students in a way or another.
And also you touch on having a better community, so that really links to my third question. How will you ensure that the society represents first year students as well as second and third year students?
Go ahead.
Well, we have this idea for the student liaisons, which we already somewhat do with the buddies system. You go in, you have an upperclassman that's able to help you. But throughout the year, if we had meetings with these student liaisons, we call them, you could talk about any concerns you have, if even just socially. But they could help with all sorts of things like that. We want to do our interfaculty parties, obviously, but...
Well, specifically interfaculty parties and all of these serves as means to an end, the end being establishing an actual community within PPE. The biggest quality of life improvement I've ever seen in any university or institution, ever in the world at least, is the human world, is friendship, is interacting with others, is being
power of friendship.
And the power of friendship is essential to our campaign because you are our friends.
Amazing. Now we're going to move on to the manifesto that you guys made. So in your proposals, you mentioned a sort of student liaison meant for students to air out their concerns and worries. Why do you think students would choose to approach peerly at gatherings instead of existing faculty or administrative support systems?
Well, we already kind of see this being the case. When you have a problem with school, academically, socially, you go mostly to your friends. I think that peer-run groups are the most effective for talking to other students. Right. With this specifically, our student liaison, it's not just for academics, it's also for help with your visa renewal, finding an apartment with somebody that knows how to do that sort of thing. We would gauge interest on who would like to act as a student liaison. We'll host these meetings at least bi-monthly, where you could have a chance to come and talk about anything. It's through peers. You don't have to worry about got to go talk about housing with Franek. You could talk to Rafa. You could talk to Ruben. You could talk to Kylie. You could talk to anybody that has some experience with these sort of things and get a student's perspective rather than
of course
big old professor.
Yeah.
And besides the gap in authority you have with these people, which gives that barrier of entry to interaction, it's just about trust. We like a higher trust community here. Many such cases occur in which you sit down, you ask for your friend to ask another person to lend them, let's say, a pencil, and they don't even know their name. And this is, I truly believe, a matter that could be addressed very easily. We'd like to make sure we all help each other out.
These are social sciences.
Yes.
So we'd like to make it a little more social.
What makes your vision for social gatherings different from the society's existing events?
Ooh, that was a very specific one because it's been one of the biggest ones our constituents have asked. But specifically, it is the matter of proactivity. We would like to actually, again, our No Child Left Behind policy, integrate people. We believe that whilst, yes, obviously there are events, these events seem to recycle certain circles of people and they appear again and they appear again. And it's very uncomfortable when you're an incoming student and you've already been information mobbed, as some people say. That you appear and it's somebody else's party. You don't really know who's there. It's already kind of, the cliques are built. If we did our own, a bit less formal, a bit less thematically insistent mixers, such as our bi-monthly proposal, we could perhaps get more familiar faces, and then these faces themselves would become more familiar if people appeared. We would like more proactivity, we'd have a lower barrier of entry, we'd like events kind of propagated by students and not just student organizations, which are actually quite different sometimes.
Yeah, I would say the WhatsApp group is effective in a way, but we need to remember that this is not the biggest faculty. We need to be able to just talk to people. We need to invite you personally. It's good to actually see someone and say, hey, you should come to this. It's very,
Absolutely.
It's fun. You can just hang out. You don't have to have questions. Mm-hmm. I also think that Rafa kind of said it with information dumping. The Freshers Week is an insanely stressful time. You get a lot of information. Mm-hmm. I was moving into my apartment during Freshers Week. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have the time to go to every little mixer, and I was really worried coming in that I wouldn't be able to like find a friend group, and then I would kind of have that opportunity pass me by. You know, people start to form these groups, and it's kind of hard to integrate into those past that first week or two. So we'd like to kind of keep that momentum going the full month, beyond. But
the whole year, maybe.
Yeah, the whole year, Freshers Year. But yeah, we just like to provide more opportunities for people to meet people early, to meet people from different grades, and just keep that momentum going.
We'd like to make sure everybody knows it's never too late to really integrate. It's never late.
Yeah.
Your campaign suggests mixers with students from law and medicine faculties. How would you coordinate these events across faculties, and what incentives would these students have to participate? Moreover, what do you think PPE students gain academically or professionally from these interfaculty interactions?
To coordinate with them, there's already student organization, there's also student clubs, but we also specifically know people a lot from these faculties that we could coordinate with. But more specifically, I really feel it's so interesting for us in a campus a bit further away from the other ones, in a part of the university that doesn't quite feel integrated with, say, the law or medical faculties, that we could have what I feel is at the heart of the university experience, which the name already implies, universal experiences, holistic integration, sharing about our different perspectives. And I assure you, there's not a person out there, even perhaps after a beer or two, that is not interested about politics, about philosophy, about history. And I really feel like every single person that talks with and shares about this stands a lot to gain.
Yeah, I would say that these faculties are actually a lot closer in some ways than they are not. I think a big part of PPE is sort of the idea that you could get into maybe like an NGO or humanitarian law. And these are conversations you could have with these people. It's not just about academics or careers, but just networking, having fun, meeting new people. It's part of the college experience. And you know, I did a semester of college in the US, and that's one thing that I think I kind of miss from that experience was that, you know, my dormitory was full of people from all these different faculties. I didn't even really know anybody that was doing the same thing as me, and that was really interesting because, you know, all your conversations are different. I was a history major, and, you know, I don't want to talk about history all the time. So it was cool to talk to the biologists and veterinarian school. Like, it's actually a good opportunity.
A very similar experience. I lived with a lot of people that studied the architecture faculty design. And there is so much more to design than one would immediately have prejudiced ask. And we would speak specifically of matters of like the philosophy of sciences, for example. I'd never really approached it from that angle. And this was genuinely eye-opening in a way that could only happen at a university that provides for opportunities like that. Mm-hmm. We don't want that.
Love it. So is there any proposals from another campaign you actually agree with or would adopt?
Well, I think a lot of our policies are quite similar to other candidates. It's kind of the nature of this thing is that we all have the same ends that we want to achieve. We just have different means slightly. I think that one idea that Abra and Joshua had that I really like is the anonymous Dropbox. You can kind of have it stationed somewhere, you know, in Unionitsa where you can drop complaints, questions, concerns, like even like really personally because it's anonymous. and those can go to our well-being coordinators if they're questions for students that they're just kind of intimidated to ask. Of course, that can just go to another student, but I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely, and we share the principles of other policies that are more specific, such as particular trips to particular places. However, we feel that obviously these require certain executions that, whilst we share the principle, we take reservations with perhaps where and how they should be done. That is why we're running and not just giving our vote.
And finally, for the last question, how do you envision PPE society after you leave, if you win?
Okay. Well, we plan to, one of our plans with integrating incoming students is to post Freshers Week, maybe a month into school, ask if anybody would like to be involved kind of as an intern, like, an aide in student government so that they can get an idea of how budgeting works, how event planning works, in a really hands-on way. And if their interests persist throughout the year, obviously they'd be a great candidate to run the next year. They'd already know how it's going. I hope that our legacy goes something like that, where we're able to help other students get involved.
Well, I completely agree. I think that we should obviously try to integrate as many people as early as possible, including, because there's already a decent barrier of entry when it comes to student politics, is making sure that we have these internship programs. We allow the people who want and voice their opinions, we allow them to do so. We'd like to do immediate student consultations. We'd like to leave a tradition of this. And we don't just generally like a more horizontal PPE society, one in which we can all participate, all have our voices heard, and even maybe, if possible, we could have our portraits left in some classrooms, Rafa and Sawyer.
Sure.
Yes, that would be quite nice.
Yeah, or statue or something.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming into this interview. Stay tuned for the next interviews that are gonna come out, and have a good St. Patrick's Day. Today is St. Patrick's.
Thank you
Bye.
kindly.
Thank you.
God bless.